Are you scared of losing muscle during your fat loss phase? There's nothing worse than seeing your physique shrink as you're trying to get leaner. But the truth is, you can maintain muscle during your fat loss phase as long as you do the right things with nutrition and also training. And in this video, we're going to go through the training component to make sure that you maintain your muscle mass during your next fat loss phase. Welcome to the channel. My name is Ryan. I'm an ex-NFL player, online coach, and natural bodybuilder. And this channel is all about finding the most efficient way to help you lose fat and build muscle. Before we get into the video, I've made a free resource called the Fat Loss Checklist, where I go through everything from nutrition to training to lifestyle factors, everything that you should be ticking off to make sure that you have a successful fat loss journey is in this checklist. I'm going to leave the link in the description below, and I definitely recommend going through and downloading that, even so you guys can follow along at home, as we're going to be going through the training steps on that checklist in this video today. So I'll leave the link in the description below. Step number 1, am I resistance training a minimum of 3 days per week? Now, I will say the majority of beginners would be able to get away with 2 days per week. However, if you're someone that's been training for a little while, I would definitely recommend training a minimum of 3 days per week, even of 4 days per week, just to ensure that during a fat loss phase, you're able to maintain your muscle mass. Now, majority of you guys will be fine with 3 and 4. You definitely don't have to go to 5 and 6 unless you're really trying to maximize your muscle growth or muscle maintenance during your fat loss phase, or potentially you're a little bit more advanced. But as I said, for a majority of you guys, 3 to 4 days a week will be plenty, especially if you're hitting it with an adequate amount of intensity to make sure that these sessions are as stimulative as possible. Step number 2, am I taking all of my sets to within 2 reps of failure? Now, what does this mean? When we're talking about failure training, say if you're doing a bench press, if you were to do your reps and then you literally couldn't get the bar off your chest, that would be counted as failure. Okay, so anything from that point to 1 to 2 reps before that is going to be very, very stimulative for muscle growth. So we want to make sure that the sets that we're doing are taken very close to that point, if not to that point, to make sure that the sets are as stimulative as possible. To maintain muscle mass during a fat loss phase, we need to create the demand to want to keep muscle around. When we're in a calorie deficit, the body's going to need energy to make up for that deficit, and we don't want muscle to be broken down. Instead, we want fat to be broken down and used as energy. So we need to make sure that our sets are as stimulative as possible to create that demand to keep muscle during a fat loss phase. Step number 3, am I progressively overloading the muscle by increasing weight or reps every week or every other week? Now, as I said in step 2, we want to make sure our training is as stimulative as possible to create that demand. And as we get stronger, that demand and that stimulus threshold is going to increase. So therefore, we have to increase our weight or our reps or both to make sure that we continue to provide that stimulus to create that demand. If we just stayed at the same reps and the same weight and we just continued to get stronger, then that proximity to failure would increase. So therefore, the sets will be less stimulative. So therefore, every week or every other week, we want to be trying to add a little bit of weight or just a rep, or maybe even a little bit of both, to make sure that these reps are staying as stimulative as possible to continue to create that demand to keep muscle. Step number 4, am I performing 6 to 15 sets per muscle group per week? Now, this is quite a big range, and I would recommend for majority of you guys staying around that 6 to 10 sets mark. But if you wanted to specialize on a particular muscle group, or you want to prioritize a particular muscle group, you can definitely go over 10 sets, especially for quick recovery muscles like calves, arms, shoulders. These muscle groups can definitely go over 10 sets, but I would recommend for majority of the muscles that you're training, you want to stay between that 6 to 10 sets to make sure that we're getting enough stimulus for the muscle, again, to create that demand to want to keep muscle around. So we need to make sure we're doing enough sets to be able to do that. Step number 5, am I training each muscle a minimum of twice per week? Now, the main reason for this being is that the first 1 to 2 sets of a session for the muscle is going to be the most stimulative of that session. So what we don't want to do is do all of our sets. Say if we're doing 6 sets for the week, we don't want to do all 6 sets in the one session, but we'd rather do 3 sets one day, 3 sets another day to make sure that the first 1 to 2 sets that are the most stimulative, we're getting that twice per week instead of just the once per week. So by doing this, we're going to increase the stimulus that we provide to the muscle. Step number 6, does the exercise that I use place tension, burn, or pump on the muscle that we're trying to target? Now, it seems pretty self-explanatory, but if we're trying to target a muscle, we need to make sure the exercise that we're choosing actually provides stimulus to that muscle. So say if you're training the biceps, you want to make sure that when you're doing your bicep curl or whatever exercise you are doing to target the biceps, that we can feel either tension, pump, or burn, one of these 3, to make sure that we're actually sending stimulus to that target muscle. Okay, we don't have to have all 3, although the more you have, it probably means it's a really good exercise for you. But we just want to make sure that we have 1 or 2 to ensure that the target muscle is getting stimulated to, again, create that demand to want to keep muscle around during a fat loss phase. And step number 7, am I training all exercises with a full range of motion with an emphasis on the stretch position? Now, there has been a lot of research coming out about how important the lengthened position is, and that it's probably more important than the shortened position. So if you're looking at a bicep curl, you probably want to spend a little bit more time in this bottom portion rather than this top portion. Now, it's not to say that all your reps need to just be in this bottom portion, but we want to make sure that we're not missing it. So we want to get a full range of motion. So each time we want to get that full stretch and full contraction to ensure that we're creating the most stimulus from each rep that we're doing, again, which is going to place that extra demand to keep muscle around during a fat loss phase. So please make sure that when you're doing your training, that you're using a full range of motion and not missing out on that stretch position. Hope this has been informative, guys. As always, do those good things, like, subscribe, leave a comment in the comment section below. And if you haven't already, I would definitely check out this video where I go through the nutrition portion of this fat loss checklist. Same as this video where I go through the step-by-step process, but for nutrition. So if you haven't already, I'll definitely be going through and checking that out. Until next time, talk to you soon.